You curate the perfect Instagram post, crafting the caption 3 times before hitting share. You smile and nod in meetings while your authentic opinion screams silently inside. You say, "I'm fine," when asked how you are, even though you're falling apart. You've become so good at being who others need you to be that you've forgotten who you actually are. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to navigate the social world. But what happens when the mask becomes so convincing that even you believe it's real? What happens when you can't take it off anymore? You feel exhausted for no reason, empty despite your achievements, disconnected from your own life. Like you're watching someone else live in your body while the real you suffocates somewhere deep inside. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. You know that feeling when you're alone and suddenly don't know who you are without an audience? When the performance stops and you're left with a terrifying emptiness. That's not depression. That's your authentic self trying to break through the persona that's been suffocating it. Your persona is not your personality, it's your prison. Today you're going to understand how the mask you created to protect yourself has become the cage that's trapping you. How the persona that once helped you survive is now slowly killing your soul. And most importantly, how to remove the mask without losing yourself in the process. Because the most terrifying and liberating truth, you are not who you pretend to be. You never were. Society has trained you to believe that authenticity is selfish, that boundaries are mean, that being yourself is somehow not enough. So you learned to perform, to be the good student, the perfect employee, the helpful friend, the selfless partner. You became a professional at being what others needed. But here's what nobody tells you. The persona was supposed to be a tool, not an identity. Jung understood that we need social masks to function in different contexts. The professional self at work, the parental self with children, the social self with friends. The problem arises when you become so identified with these masks that you lose contact with who you are underneath them. The persona is a complicated system of relations between individual consciousness and society. Carl Jung. Think about it. When was the last time you expressed an authentic opinion that might disappoint someone? When did you last say no without explaining yourself into exhaustion? When did you last show up exactly as you are without editing yourself for your audience? The persona becomes pathological when it stops being a conscious choice and becomes an unconscious compulsion. When you can't turn it off. When you're performing even when you're alone. When you've forgotten that there's a real person underneath all the roles you play. Social media has weaponized the persona. Your Instagram isn't your life. It's your life's highlight reel, carefully curated to project success, happiness, and having it all together. You spend more time crafting the image of your life than actually living it. You become addicted to the dopamine hit of likes and comments that validate your performance. But what happens to your soul when your entire existence becomes a performance? What happens when you're so busy being who you think you should be that you never get to be who you actually are? Carl Jung discovered that the persona serves a crucial developmental function. It helps us learn to navigate social expectations and cultural norms. Like an actor's mask in ancient Greek theater, the persona allows us to play different roles in the drama of life. The word persona literally means mask in Latin, derived from per sonar, to sound through. But Jung issued a crucial warning. One could say, with a little exaggeration, that the persona is that which in reality one is not, but which oneself as well as others think one is. When we become too identified with our mask, we lose contact with our authentic self, what Jung called the process of individuation. The persona is a mask that feigns individuality, making others and oneself believe that one is individual, whereas one is simply acting a role. Carl Jung. Imagine your psyche as a theater. Your authentic self is the actor, but you've been wearing the same costume for so long that you've forgotten it's not your real skin. The mask has fused to your face. You've become the character you were playing, forgetting that there's a real person underneath who never gets to take the stage. But here's Jung's radical insight. The persona isn't inherently bad. It becomes toxic when it replaces authentic self-expression. You need social skills and the ability to adapt to different contexts. The problem isn't having a persona. It's forgetting that you have one. It's mistaking the mask for your face. Let's get honest about how the persona might be running and ruining your life. You've become the strong one in your family and friend groups. Everyone brings their problems to you because you never seem to have any of your own. But the truth, you're drowning in unexpressed emotions and unmet needs while playing therapist to everyone else. I can't fall apart. Everyone needs me to have it together. Who would I be if I wasn't the one people could count on? And here's what cutting-edge research reveals about this digital performance trap. Constant curation of online personas creates digital depression, a disconnect between performed selves and inner reality. Dr. Sherry Turkle. In other words, the more you perform connection online, the more isolated and misunderstood you feel in real life. Your social media feed is a carefully curated highlight reel of success, adventure, and happiness. You spend more time documenting your life than living it. Every experience gets filtered through, how will this look online, before you can actually experience it. This moment isn't real until it's validated by likes and comments. I exist through other people's approval of my performance. You've become addicted to being low maintenance and chill. You never complain, never ask for what you need, never rock the boat. You pride yourself on being easy to love, but you're slowly disappearing in the process. If I show them who I really am, messy, needy, complicated, they'll leave. It's safer to be what they want. You're successful in your career, but it doesn't feel like your success. You're living someone else's definition of achievement, while your authentic dreams suffocate in the basement of your consciousness. I don't even know what I actually want anymore. I've been performing success for so long, I've forgotten what would actually fulfill me. Here's the mirror question that shatters everything. When was the last time you felt truly seen and loved for who you actually are? Not for what you do or how well you perform. You can be loved for your persona, but you can only be known through your authenticity. Here's what behavioral research reveals about living for external approval. People who derive worth from external validation show measurably higher rates of anxiety, depression, and relationship difficulties. Dr. Tim Kasser. This means organizing your life around others' approval creates a hunger that can never be satisfied, no matter how much success you achieve. Dr. Kasser's longitudinal studies tracked individuals over decades, finding that those who organized their lives around external approval never achieved lasting satisfaction. The persona becomes a hunger that can never be fed. People who spend significant time crafting their online image report feeling more isolated and misunderstood in their offline relationships. They become so skilled at performing connection that they lose the ability to experience genuine intimacy. Even more concerning, research shows that people who chronically suppress authentic emotional expression develop decreased ability to identify and process their own feelings. They become emotionally illiterate, disconnected from their inner guidance system. Brain imaging studies reveal that when people engage in authentic self-expression, regions associated with reward, meaning, and well-being light up. But when they engage in performances that contradict their values or authentic self, stress centers in the brain activate, creating the same physiological responses as physical threats. The research is clear. Your nervous system knows the difference between authentic expression and performance, even when your conscious mind doesn't. But you might be thinking, I can't just drop my mask and be completely authentic. I have responsibilities, relationships, a career. People depend on me to be who they think I am. I completely understand this terror. The thought of dropping your mask probably feels like jumping off a cliff without knowing if there's ground below. You spent so long being who others need you to be that authentic expression feels dangerous, selfish, even impossible. This fear reflects the false belief that authenticity means being selfish, inconsiderate, or inappropriate. But authentic doesn't mean unfiltered. It means conscious choice rather than unconscious performance. It means expressing yourself in ways that honor both your truth and your context. And here's what vulnerability research shows about authentic connection. Authentic connection, the kind that nourishes the soul, is impossible while wearing a mask. Dr. Brené Brown. This means vulnerability requires showing up as who you actually are, not who you think you should be. You can be professional at work while still expressing your authentic perspective. You can be caring in relationships while still maintaining boundaries. You can be responsible while still honoring your needs. Authenticity isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about wanting what you choose to do. Authenticity is not about being inappropriate. It's about being conscious. But what if people don't like the real me? What if I lose relationships, opportunities, or approval when I stop performing? This is the persona's greatest fear, that your authentic self is somehow not worthy of love. But here's the liberating truth. Relationships built on your performance were never really with you anyway. They were with your mask. And living for the approval of people who don't actually know you is a special kind of hell. The people who matter will love you more for your authenticity, not less. And the people who only loved your performance, they were never truly in relationship with you to begin with. When you drop the mask, you'll discover who was actually there for you versus who was there for what you could provide. What if the relationships you lose by being authentic were never yours to begin with? What if the opportunities that require you to betray yourself aren't opportunities at all, but sophisticated forms of self-abandonment? You stand at the threshold of the most courageous choice you can make, to remove the mask and let yourself be seen. Not gradually, not partially, but completely. To risk everything you think you are for the possibility of discovering who you actually are. Path 1. The performance prison. You continue living behind the mask, maintaining the personas that have become your identity. You keep being the strong one, the helpful one, the successful one, the perfect one. Your social media continues to sparkle with curated highlights, while your soul shrivels in the darkness. Years pass. You achieve more external success, but feel increasingly empty inside. Your relationships remain surface level because nobody really knows you. You become expert at managing other people's perceptions while losing touch with your own reality. Research shows what happens to people who stay trapped in performance. Chronic emotional suppression decreases ability to identify and process feelings, creating emotional illiteracy. Dr. Susan David. This means the longer you wear the mask, the more disconnected you become from your own inner guidance system. The mask becomes heavier each year. You need more validation to feel okay. You work harder to maintain the performance. You medicate the emptiness with shopping, scrolling, substances, or staying busy. The authentic self you buried starts to emerge in anxiety, depression, or physical symptoms. Your soul's desperate attempt to get your attention. You realize you've spent your entire life being a stranger to yourself. You've won approval from people who never actually knew you. You've succeeded at becoming someone you don't even like. Path 2. The Authenticity Awakening. You begin the terrifying and liberating process of removing the mask. You start expressing opinions that might disappoint people. You begin saying no without explaining yourself into exhaustion. You share your struggles instead of pretending everything is perfect. Initially, it feels like death, because in a sense it is, the death of who you pretended to be. Some people are confused or disappointed by your authenticity. Some relationships that were built on your performance begin to shift or end. The death of your false self is the birth of your true self. But something miraculous happens. You begin to breathe again. You start to recognize yourself in the mirror. You develop relationships with people who actually know and love you. You make decisions based on your authentic values rather than others' expectations. You discover that being yourself is not selfish. It's the greatest gift you can give the world. Your authenticity gives others permission to remove their masks too. You become a sanctuary of realness in a world of performance. 5 years from now, you look back at your masked life with compassion, understanding why you needed that protection, but you never want to go back to being a stranger to yourself. Which version of yourself are you brave enough to become? Let's move from insight to transformation with 3 practices that will help you consciously remove the mask and reclaim your authentic self. Practice 1. The persona audit. For 1 week, notice when you're performing versus when you're being authentic. Ask yourself throughout the day, am I being myself right now? Or am I being who I think I should be? What would change if I responded from authenticity instead of performance? Start documenting the different masks you wear. The professional self, the family self, the social media self, the romantic self. Notice which ones feel aligned with your truth and which ones feel like costumes you're trapped in. Awareness of the mask is the first step toward removing it. Practice 2. The Authentic Expression Experiment. Choose one small way each day to express your authentic self instead of your persona. Share an honest opinion in a meeting. Post an unfiltered photo on social media. Say no to a request without over-explaining. Express a need instead of pretending you don't have any. Start tiny. Authenticity is a muscle that needs to be strengthened gradually. Each small act of authentic expression builds your tolerance for being real. Research shows that self-compassion is crucial during this process. You're likely to feel vulnerable, anxious, or exposed when you first start removing the mask. This is normal and temporary. Practice 3. The True Self Reconnection Ritual. Create regular time for unperformed solitude. No social media, no productivity, no agenda, just you, alone with yourself, practicing being without doing. Ask, who am I when nobody's watching? What do I actually think, feel, want, and value? Journal without editing. Express emotions without managing them. Move your body in ways that feel good rather than look good. Reconnect with interests, opinions, and desires that exist independent of others' approval. Your authentic self emerges in unperformed moments. Carl Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." This practice creates space for that becoming to happen naturally, rather than forcing it through more performance. Remember that exhausted feeling of constantly performing? That emptiness despite your achievements? That sense of being a stranger in your own life? You now understand that this wasn't weakness. It was your soul crying out for authenticity. It wasn't depression. It was the natural response to abandoning yourself. It wasn't failure. It was the necessary breakdown that precedes breakthrough. Your exhaustion was not laziness. It was the cost of constant performance. Carl Jung understood something profound. Individuation, becoming who you truly are, is the most important work of a human life. Not becoming successful, popular, or perfect. Becoming authentic, becoming real, becoming yourself. The mask you've been wearing served an important purpose. It protected you when being real wasn't safe. It helped you navigate a world that often punishes authenticity. But what once protected you is now limiting you. What once helped you survive is now preventing you from thriving. The persona that protected you as a child may be imprisoning you as an adult. When you remove the mask, you don't lose yourself. You find yourself. You don't become less lovable. You become actually lovable, not just performatively acceptable. You don't lose opportunities. You attract ones that align with your authentic values. Most beautifully, when you give yourself permission to be real, you give everyone around you permission to drop their masks too. Your authenticity becomes a gift to a world starving for genuine connection in an age of performance. Your authenticity is not just your freedom, it's your gift to the world. What if the person you've been pretending to be was never as interesting, valuable, or lovable as the person you actually are? What if your authentic self, with all its imperfections, quirks, and complications, is exactly what the world needs? You were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real. And being real is the most radical, courageous, and liberating thing you can do in a world of masks. If this helped you recognize the difference between your mask and your authentic self, share this with someone else who's exhausted from performing their life. Subscribe for more videos that help you understand the difference between who you think you should be and who you actually are. In the comments, tell me one way you're ready to be more authentic this week. Your courage to be real might give someone else permission to remove their mask too.